Hello, and welcome to Kingston Cougars TV. On today's programme,
are pricing carts making the Kingston cheerleaders have a crash landing, or are they still flying high?
we talk with James Mitchell, president of recently established Kingston University's Triathlon Club, whose membership includes an international star.
And we fill you in on recent results from various university sports clubs as well as their upcoming fixtures.
But first, we go to Richmond Park to Miss Chris Savey and find out what it takes to be an international triathlete.
I got into triathlon through my mum. I grew up watching her. She's been doing triathlons for the last 15, 20 years, and watching her has just made me want to give it a go as well. I've competed in triathlon for the last 5, 6 years, and I train regularly now with the local club here in Kingston, and I train with the Kingston Uni Triathlon Club as well. I joined the club last year when it was still a cycling club. I thought, this is great, I've got another social aspect to uni, I can get in there and just try and have a good time with my training in the last year, and it's turned out to be fantastic. My favourite place to train around Kingston would probably be Richmond Park. It's got nice cycling areas, just the lap of the park is really easy to do, and it's quite quiet rather than on the main roads, and also running around Richmond Park is beautiful. I absolutely love it there. I try to train each discipline, so the swimming, the cycling and the running 3 to 4 times, and that amounts to about, if I'm lucky, 12 hours a week. My favourite would definitely be the swimming. I've grown up last probably 17 years of my life swimming. From before I can remember, I was thrown in a pool, and cycling and running just came after naturally with watching my mum. My last competition was back in September. That was the Age Group World Championships in London. Me personally, I did quite well. It was a PB for me on my run and my cycle time. I came 51st in my age group, which is granted out of the world. So 51st at the Olympic distance in the world is not a bad title to have. My next competition is at the end of May. It's a half Ironman. It's more of a warm-up race. I'm not taking it too seriously, but I'm still aiming to do really well in the swimming and really well in the run. My best advice would be to start small. Don't go for anything huge. Try and build yourself up slowly. Don't overdo anything, and especially on race days, don't try anything new. Don't go out and buy a new pair of shoes and try them on race day, because you've not run them in. You don't know how they'll be on a longer run. And definitely watch your nutrition. That's the 4th part of triathlon and probably one of the most important nowadays.
Joining us now is James Mitchell, president and founder of Kingston's Triathlon Club. So James, Chris mentioned that the next competition was a half Ironman. What does this consist of?
A half Ironman is pretty much one of the hardest competitions you can take part in, only bettered by an Ironman. You're looking at starting off with a 1.9 kilometre swim, which for a normal club swimmer would take over an hour to complete. You then go into a 90 kilometre bike ride. For someone who's just going to go and pick up a bike, a 90 kilometre bike ride will be on its own an incredibly hard challenge. And then you finish off by running a half marathon, which, as many people know, half marathons you just try and run one of them from scratch. I've just done one last week. It's taken me a year to train for that, just for that one event, and when I finished, I was dead. So to do them consistently straight after each other, no break, just keep going. You can imagine the amount of effort that is involved with. Chris is a phenomenon. We call him the machine, and as you can see why. He does double that on a regular basis, and he does it in time that people you're just astounded when you see it. He is a one of a kind and a true athlete.
Oh gosh, that sounds really tough and a lot of hard work. So why did you decide to set up the Triathlon Club?
After my first year at uni, I hadn't really met that many people. I'd always been really sporty and loved taking part in sport, but something that I really wanted to do was take part more in the sports at the university, and I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to get fit, because I come my freshers year with too much drinking, my own food. I wasn't in the best shape, and the mirror wasn't looking too kind. And the scales were about 100 kilograms, and it wasn't looking great. So I wanted to start it to get fitter. It was right after the Olympics, and I'd always been into cycling, so I went and bought a bike, went for a few runs. That's why I wanted to start. And so we've now been going 21 months, and I've now lost 25 kilograms in that time. So and I've just completed my first half marathon, so far it's a success. But that's why I want to start it, just to meet new people and to get fitter.
Okay.
How often do you train and where?
Training, well, depending on like who you are within the club, it depends on how many times you train. We split the club up into 3 different sectors, so we've got the swimming aspect, the cycling and the running, and you can train as little or as often as you like. Myself and Chris train the most. I train 8 times a week and Chris trains about 10 times a week. And on a normal week we're averaging about 11 hours of training, hard training, and then 4 hours of recovery training. So up to about 15 hours a week training.
And why should people join your club?
We are one of the most social clubs going. Like you can do anything you want. If you want to come for a swim for once a weekend, you know, it's a 2 hour, or you can come for 1 hour, just swim up and down and be as social as you like. If you come out of us on a Wednesday afternoon when we cycle, we literally just go around Richmond Park twice and then go to the pub. That's the idea of it. Is literally, it's just a ride to a pub with an excuse to talk to each other. But then you also have the opportunity to get fit and to like set yourself a challenge, and you'll always be pushed. Like when I started running, I ran 600 meters, fell over and needed to lie down to take a rest. And then like last weekend, I've obviously completed my first half marathon. The progress that you make is insane, and it's one of the clubs that we're really supportive no matter what level you're at, whereas in a team sport you'll go in, you'll take a trial. If you're not good enough for the first, you'll go into the seconds. If you make a mistake for the seconds, you'll be in the thirds. For us, it's not that. You compete against yourself and how good you can be. It's all about self-improvement and what you want to do. So I would say that at the university we are the only club that is really in that situation.
Thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck in your upcoming competitions.
Thank you.
Results time. And now we look back at the recent triumphs and tragedies of Kingston University's teams. The results are: men's results. Football, Kingston beat Brunel 5-2. Rugby, Kingston beat Reading 28-10. Tennis, Kingston drew with Reading 3-3. Volleyball, Kingston lost to Portsmouth 3-1.
For the ladies' results, lacrosse, Kingston lost 23-8 against Portsmouth. Hockey, Kingston won against Brighton 2-0. Badminton, Kingston was a walkover against St Bart's. And for basketball, Kingston beat Chichester 77-57. Kingston is well known for its award-winning cheerleading squad. Joining us now in the studio is Bradley Cornell, who is the only male member of the cheerleading team. So what made you want to get into cheerleading?
Well, all of my friends do cheerleading because I study dance at university. So cheerleading is kind of like, for me, like an added step on to progress as like athlete. So cheerleading, I always thought that looks fun, sounds fun. Like all my friends were there, and I was like, do you know what? Why not give it a go? Because you know it's fun, and that's what uni should be about. And I thought, why not join a society that's fun and they have loads of socials, and it just seemed fun.
So is it challenging being the only male in the team?
And well, it's funny like that question because people always ask me that, being like the only male there, but I've always been the only male, like because I do dance, so I'm always the only male who dances on my teams anyway. So to me, it's not anything different. And to be fair, I prefer it that way, having just me, no one to compete against. I just look at the girls and think, well, I don't have to compete with those. I have to compete with my own thing, like just being the only guy. So it's fine.
A recent article published in the CBS News highlighted the attempts of several people to get cheerleading, pole dancing and sheep shearing into Olympics. Do you think these qualify as sports?
I think, like, I can't speak for the other two, but for cheerleading, I definitely think that it is a sport. If you've seen, I don't know whether you've seen, like, Smoeds, who are an American cheerleading team, they are so hardcore that it takes a certain amount of athletes to be able to do it. And it's not one of these things that you can just say, right, I'm going to go to and have fun. Because we compete. There's 2 types of cheerleading. One is where you'll support, like, a football team or a rugby team. And then 2 is competing. And we compete, and I don't think it's for everyone, so you do have to have a skill, and I think it should be in the Olympics.
Thank you very much, Bradley, and good luck with your future competitions.
Thank you.
Recently, Kingston has to deal with massive cuts to funding, the brunt of which fell on the university's sports clubs and societies. Last week, our very own Shakira Fletcher went to visit Kingston cheerleading squad to ask how the cuts have affected their performance.
Some would think that being a cheerleader consists of cartwheels and pom-poms, but to be the best of the best, you must be able to do scary high vertical leaps and breathtaking stunts that could potentially break bones. Today I'll be sitting in on Kingston University's cheerleading team as they prepare for competitions, but I will see what it takes to be a part of the elite team. But with news surfacing that there has been a lack of funding, has this really affected them? Without the right amount of funding, they won't be able to get the right equipment, as they do very dangerous stunts.
The lack of funding means that we don't have a tumble track, which means we can't practice the more advanced gymnastics.
As a level 3 team, cheerleading has different levels, so in order for us to get to a higher level and progress as a team, we need the right facilities.
It's really annoying because we don't have the right mats, and that means we can't do tumbles. That means when we're doing jumps, they're not as high. We don't have the full practice. When we get to competition and we're doing it on the sprung floor, it's completely different and it really puts everyone off.
However, despite the lack of equipment, this still hasn't stopped them from being two-time national champions.
Yeah, we've won quite a lot over the last 3 years, but since I've been here, we've won first and second at most competitions, third at some. We're two-time national champions last year. We were national champions my first year, twice last year, and we're hoping to get it for a third year.
There's no surprise that these cheerleaders have been number one. But who knows, with the right equipment, what they really could accomplish. So today we've seen the Kingston cheerleaders in their rehearsals leading up to competitions. They also let me know how the lack of funding has affected them in their rehearsal time. So hopefully their voices can be heard.
That's all we have time for this week. Next week we'll look at Kingston University's American football team and its women's basketball team.
Thank you for tuning in. Before we let you go, Bradley has kindly agreed to show you some of his moves, and see you next week.